Hello, scholars. This is Mr. Myers. We're going to do 2.1, the structure of the national government, part 1. As always, make sure you take good structured notes. Our objectives for today are to examine the structure of Congress, talk about the qualifications and the terms of Congress, congressional leadership, and then a little bit about congressional committees. So let's talk about the structure of Congress. Our Congress is a two-house system, a bicameral legislature made up of a House and a Senate. Every 2 years, a Congress happens. Congress is made up of two one-year sessions. It's also referred to as a term, and that term of two one-year sessions starts on January 3rd. Each assembly largely makes up its own rules and elects its own leaders. So if you're elected to the U.S. Senate, you represent your entire state. There are two senators for every state, but they're not divided into districts. It's not like each senator has one half of the state. In the Senate, there are two per state, so 50 states. There's 100 members total, and senators represent anywhere from 575,000 people if you're a senator from Wyoming to 39 million people if you're a senator from California. Now, if you're a member of the House, you represent a district within your state, and how many districts or how many reps your state has is, of course, based on population. There's a total of 435 members in the House of Representatives, and each representative, on average, represents about 700,000 people per representative. And, of course, every 10 years, the census is taken and reapportionment happens. For example, Missouri used to have 9 representatives, but in the 2020 census, we lost population in relation to other states and lost a rep, and now Missouri only has 8 representatives. Now, the qualifications and terms are different for each of the assemblies. In the U.S. Senate, it's a 6-year term, and of course you can serve unlimited numbers of terms. You have to be 30 years old by the time of taking office, a resident of the state, and a citizen of the United States for 9 years. In the House of Representatives, you serve a 2-year term, which means that you're pretty much constantly running for re-election. You have to be 25 years old on the time of taking office, a resident of your state, and a citizen for at least 7 years. In terms of leadership, again, each House elects their own leaders. In the House of Representatives, the highest position is the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House is always a member of the majority party. In this case, it's a Republican. They're technically supposed to be nonpartisan, and their job is to largely manage the day-to-day operations of the House. Below them are the majority and minority leaders, the floor leaders, again, depending on which party is in power. Currently, the Republicans are in power, so there's a Republican majority leader and a Democratic minority leader. And then below them are whips and bill managers. Whips and bill managers largely assist the floor leaders in counting votes and making sure that the party faithful stay in line. In terms of the Senate, the head official is actually the Vice President of the United States. So I know this is confusing, but in your notes, make sure that you write down that the President of the Senate is the Vice President of the United States. In this case, it's J.D. Vance. The only thing that the President of the Senate actually does is come in and cast a tie-breaking vote if there's a tie. Other than that, it's largely a ceremonial role. They're not allowed to speak on the floor or participate in committee hearings. In the Senate, there's also another ceremonial type position called the President pro tempore of the Senate. It's usually the most senior member of the majority party. Currently, that's held by Patty Murray. She actually is the first woman and the first person who's not the most senior member of her party to hold that position. There's a couple perks that come along with that job, such as a bigger office and a little bit more of a bully pulpit, but for the most part, that's it. And then, of course, you have the floor leaders, the majority and minority leader, although generally speaking, they have less power than congressional leadership in the House, and then, of course, whips and bill managers as well. Okay, now on to congressional committees and caucuses. So caucuses are internal groups of like-minded people who meet on a formal basis in order to discuss issues that are important to them, whether that be legislation or, ethics or whatever the case might be. There are a variety of different caucuses. The Democratic and Republican caucus are the most popular ones that people would know, but there's a Black Congressional Caucus, there's a House Freedom Caucus, sometimes referred to as the Tea Party, which is a group of like-minded conservatives who get together and talk about conservative things. These caucuses are important in helping to guide legislation and propose legislation, as well as provide solidarity among like-minded people. In terms of committees, the basic purpose of committees is to pass legislation. 99% of the work in Congress is done in committee, actually more specifically in subcommittee. It would be way too difficult to draft and amend legislation to do all of the nitty-gritty, how the sausage gets made on the floor of the House with, say, 435 members. It would be too difficult. So the committees are the kind of the workhorses of Congress. Okay, so there are four kinds of committees. The first committee that we're going to talk about is more or less a permanent committee. It's called a standing committee. And standing committees exist on things like taxes and military affairs and veterans affairs. And bills that have that topic are assigned to that particular committee, and that's where people come and testify, and again, where the sausage actually gets made. Another kind of committee is called a select or a special committee. These are, by definition, temporary committees that are designed to investigate one particular thing. We at one point had a select committee on steroids in baseball. Most recently, we had a coronavirus crisis select subcommittee. There's also Watergate was a select committee. We also have something called joint committees. That's where representatives of both the House and the Senate come together and meet. The most common example of that is a conference committee. A conference committee is called when a bill has passed the House and the Senate in two different forms, and the differences between the two bills need to be ironed out before they're sent to the president for signature. Okay, here are those objectives again. I hope you took good notes, and please bring any questions to class.